issues for the youth, the people in colleges and universities, is the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, belief that as children, especially in Islamic households, that their parents instill into them at an early age. But then when they come to the university, there's a lot of that foundation that's shaken up by a lot of the rhetoric, by a lot of the propaganda, a lot of the ideas that are there to diminish the importance of religion, specifically the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the reason why today, inshallah, the Shaykh will talk about the belief, the faith, and the importance of Iman in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also many other aspects, inshallah, afterwards. So if anyone has a question in the question and answer session, inshallah, he'll talk. You can ask any question that you have, and inshallah, he'll answer. So this is something that he's been doing for a long time. We're very blessed to have him here in Charlotte. There's very few people that are in his level of knowledge. He has written many books. Currently, he's writing a book where it's 900 pages. He's almost complete. He's almost finished with that book. But this is to show you the level of his knowledge. And this is just one book. He has many other books that he has written, many other books that are being used in different universities, Islamic universities, scholars throughout the world as a textbook, as a reference book. So it's not books that, a person like me or you, we can go and just go open and understand. Very complicated, very complex Islamic laws and rules regarding the religion that professors and other scholars and other people of great knowledge, that they use that as a reference book. So even a regular guy can't just open it and understand it. That's how advanced his books are. But it's a huge service to the community, and we're very fortunate that he's here in Charlotte, and today, alhamdulillah, tonight, here at the university. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the tawfiq to benefit as much as we can. So inshallah, we'll begin with the program. Unfortunately, the speaker, the mic can't go to...
I could reach it, or this is the highest? This is the highest?
Yes.
Or we can move up and let us talk.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to sit down, the people...
They taped it to the work. Assalamu alaikum. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Thank you for inviting me here in this university to talk about very important subject. Actually, is the most important subject. The foundation of the belief, the foundation of the faith is like the roots for the tree. If you chop those roots, you cut them off, there is no tree. That tree will collapse and will die, and that's it. The roots for the religion is the foundation of the religion. And the foundation of the religion is the faith. However, people, when they don't have religion to start with, they don't have any faith in their heart, or at least they claim that they don't have faith in their heart. Here, I'm going to enter the subject direct because we don't have any time to start putting some introductions to enter it. I'll just ask those brothers and sisters one question. After, I will explain two things. First, by logic, people, there are three types. You will never make them two, neither one or neither four. Three types. No way. Logically, there are three types. I'm going to use logic from now until I finish. Three types. The first type, the one who knows and he doesn't know that he knows. We'll tell him, wake up, go teach. The second type, the one who doesn't know and he knows he doesn't know. He's coming to you, I want to learn. That's good. We are here to give you every evidence, everything, to learn. And the third type, and this is the problem in our time, and the majority of people in different fields, they have this type, which is the one who doesn't know, and he doesn't know that he doesn't know. He's going around that he is, mashallah, the most incredible, sophisticated brain, and in reality, he doesn't have any brain. Because when you hit a level that you don't know, I think you need a mental hospital. because this is a disaster. However, we have to agree when we talk about something called facts, or we never get anywhere. Something by logic, nobody could deny them. Can I be tall and short at the same time? Answer.
No.
Yes or no? Now, if you say yes, then we are going to the third types of people you don't know that you don't know. Because that's logical. I cannot be tall and short at the same time. This room could be big and small at the same time. No. Can I fit this room in this table with all of you in it? No or yes?
No.
Yes. Could you drink the whole entire ocean? No. There is something you cannot deny because it's so logical. And anybody deny it, it means he has to get another brain because he doesn't have a brain to start with. If I tell you, you know, I came to Charlotte here from New York in an aeroplane, and this aeroplane doesn't have a pilot, and nobody is controlling it via remote control. Just this aeroplane. It knows by itself that I am as a passenger coming in, and it will come to me by itself. Nobody is in there. And I came in by itself, and she knew that the passengers in this is full, and she took off in its own. Nobody is in there, no remote control, no pilots, no nothing. And it arrived here by itself and opened the door by itself. Nothing. Nobody in control, by itself, everything by itself. And eventually I came out from that airplane and I found the car by itself. No driver. Nobody is using remote control. And by the way, the airplane by itself also, it knows when she needs fuel, and it produces fuel in its own. And when there's some things wrong, it will fix itself in its own. Nobody does that. It does it by itself. I'm telling you how I came here. I'm just telling you the story, how I came to your university. And then that taxi, it came by itself, and it has a flat tire, and by itself changed the flat tire. And some noise happened, and by itself, it fixed the engine. And it took me from the street by itself. And it knows exactly where to come and brought me here by itself. And eventually I arrived here. Anybody believe this story? Why Amir, mashallah? Nobody believe. Why? Why you don't believe this?
Not logical.
It's not logical. Now, either we stick with logic or we tell our brain, have a nice night. And that's the end of the conversation. So we agreed on logic here. So you don't believe this because it's not logical. Another thing, let's say you enter your room as a student at night and you found your computer there, and that computer by itself start giving you all those answers by itself. Anything you wanted by itself, it start googling and do and give you, and by itself. And how it's being built? By itself. It pops out by itself. Nobody built it because it's by itself. Anybody believe this story? Anybody believe this story? Yes or no?
No, sir.
No. Subhanallah, la ilaha illallah. If you don't believe all of that, you're gonna tell me that in all this universe it pops by itself? If we don't believe these little things, we're not gonna believe the second things. If we wanna talk logic tonight, right? Anybody, you think after we agreed on this statements, you think anybody could come and say, this whole universe, it pops by itself, by accident, and look at it. Sun, it comes in the morning from the east all the way to the west. It does not miss a fractions of a second. And it does not get closer to this earth, not even 1 inch. And mashallah, if it comes 1 foot, what's going to happen? You know what's going to happen if it comes closer to us. What's going to happen? We will be steamed, not just fried. I don't think anything will be, never mind, steamed. Nothing. You will be dissolved. And imagine if it's further a little bit, another foot or couple of foot further from the earth. What's going to happen? All of us will be frozen. A piece of ice. And you know what? It's by itself. It knows how to come from east and it goes to the west, and it doesn't miss a fractions of a second by itself. Any logical brain could say yes. Anybody with a little bit of a brain could say yes for this. Never mind it. Us. When you think about yourself, you just felt hungry, you start shoveling that food in your stomach. And you went to sleep. And the stomach by itself, it knows. And to process the food by itself, to send it to the right places by itself, to go to the liver by itself, to be produced and to change from whatever food you ate to blood, so you could survive by itself. By itself, it created itself by itself, and it does all of that by itself, and everything is in its own. Any normal brain could believe that. Any normal brain could believe this. And when we say the science, let's go to the science. When the first scientist discovered, I forget the name of him, that scientist, he said all the feeling is in the skin. It's a discovery in science. Like if somebody gets skinned out and you try to put the hand in ice or fire, they will never feel anything. Because all the feeling is in the skin. And he came out with a big discovery. One of the Islamic scholars, they said, you never found anything. Here is in the Quran. كلما نضجت جلودهم بدلناهم جلودا غيرها ليذوقوا العذاب. Every time those people who are going to be in hellfire, may Allah save us from that. When their skin is bent off, Allah, He will make their skin grow again, so they will feel the hellfire. What that means? The feeling is where? In the skin. I don't think Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he has a lab in Al-Madinah 1400 years ago, and he came up with this discovery. They discovered that, not us. They said that, not us. But this is here in the Quran 1400 years ago. You want to tell me when we believe in science and we became so much great in science? If you become so much great in science, the science should tell you that there is a creator. He created you and He created everything you do in that science. You want to go to science? Let's go to science. This is eventually happen, and check it on Google. Group of scientists in America. I forgot in what state it's being done. There is a mud area, and there is certain types of plants that grow in the mud. Some of those scientists, or some of those in biology or something, they are doing some kind of research there. And they have very sophisticated machines with them. They found out that there is sound being spot in those machines, coming from those plants. But the sound is not normal. Like there is something being said, but they don't know. Like it's some sound that doesn't make any sense. They don't understand it. And they keep doing the research, and the research it never get to any answer. It went the same experiments to London, Britain. And the scientists over there, they are doing the same thing, but this time, one of those scientists, he's Indian, from India. He's a Muslim. When he heard those machines, he said, yeah, I know what's going on here. They told him, what's going on here? He said, it's in the Quran what's going on. 1400 years ago. What it is? وَمَا مِن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُ. Everything always says Subhanallah. Everything he created, the stones, the trees, everything says tasbih, but we don't understand. This plant, it says Allah, 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 God, God. That's the dhikr. It's going. That's the scientists, they figure out that, and they discovered that. Everything you look at it, in your body, in this earth we are living in this universe, the one it's filled with the planets, it's filled with many stars. It cannot pop out by itself. If we cannot believe you took a taxi and you came and does that for you by itself, you're gonna tell me that you, with all these complications, with all this body, you came out from nowhere and you are perfect. You have a perfect brain, you have a perfect sight, you think, you write, you teach, you study. Perfect. If we don't believe the first statement, which is so simple, we're going to believe the second statement, which is more complicated. Anybody believe in that? I don't think he is using his mind in a correct way at all. Nothing. May Allah protect our mind, and it protect our hearts, and it protect our brain, and it protect our faith as a believer. Here is the question. When we don't get nowhere in the thinking, we have to start thinking logical. I'm not talking about any, do I use anything? All what we're saying is logic so far. You came from nowhere. You came from your mother and your father. And you have a beginning. So there is a beginning you started in. That beginning, who made it? Don't tell me by itself it came. Then, the one who started all this corruption, I'm trying to summarize the whole bit because I don't want to make you sit because you have been waiting since 5 o'clock. The one who started all this corruption, Darwin. You know his name, Darwin? You know his nonsense theory. Before he died, if you go search on the internet, himself, he said there is many questions. Darwinism theory, it cannot answer. It can't answer. You put a theory and you want the people to believe in it, and many questions you cannot answer. One of the questions he cannot answer, why he said this statement, because he said all the life started from one cell, and it's been developed, and it became as you see it. Let's us go with him as what he's saying. We'll ask him one question: who created that first cell? That's it. If he answers this question, we are fine. Let's get along with what he's saying. Even scientifically, it doesn't make any sense because with the medicine, with the DNA and everything, the DNA for a human different than the DNA for the animals different than. You know more than I do in this field. And everything, according to his theory, it came from one cell. MashaAllah, incredible this cell. To have everything life, it came from that one cell. It does not make any logic. It does not make any sense in science. In science, it's not valid. We said we believe in science. That's the reason we're not going to let our mind go to start saying there is God. If you are really digging deep in science, everything in science, it will point that there is God. Nothing could pops out from nowhere. Himself, Darwin, he never answered this question. When you put a theory, better you put something logically, it should make sense. And that's the reason here when we talk as Muslims, we say our deen, it must settle in the heart. Because the heart is the center of feeling. The heart is the center of love. The heart is the center of the belief. You say, I believe in you in my heart. I believe in my heart. I don't believe in my brain. I love you in my heart. Through my heart, not through my brain. And anything, if it does not make any sense logically, it will not travel to your heart to believe in it. So when we say as a Muslim, we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We believe in Allah, the one who does not have a beginning, neither does not have an end. Because if there is a beginning, then someone who started him in that beginning, and that's unlogical, it's impossible. And if you say an end, then who is creating all that? And who's taking care of all that? Him. And it cannot be ended. Because if he end, then it's a weakness. There is some power ended him, and that one, the one who's God, not him. And that's contradict with logic. Contradict with logic. He does not have a beginning, does not have an end. And he does not resemble any of his creation. Anything you imagine in your mind, he's beyond your imagination. Because you are a creation. And you have a beginning and you have an end. You have a limitation. You cannot fit in a brain. It's limited, the unlimited. Could you fit this room in this table? Could you fit this university in a cup? Simple. That's the reason does not resemble any of his creation. And if he does not resemble any of his creation, then nothing resembling him, then he is one. One as no partner. All that is by logic. You don't need somebody to tell you a message. By logic, you will get to it. All these statements, you get to them by logic. And of course, he has the attributes of knowledge because he knows everything before anything and before it happened. Because he is the creator of everything. And he is the one in control of everything, as you doesn't believe at the beginning that I came with a car, it fixes itself, it does itself by itself. So there is someone who manufactured that car, some mechanic who fixed that car, some gas station you have to put fuel in that car, someone has to drive that car. Same thing. Allah the one who created you, and Allah the one who provides for you the fuel, the water, the food, the one who gives you the health, and that's how the creation goes. Everything must have something. And here, the creation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one He created. I will stop here with, as promised, we're not going to go further, and I will take your questions. Anybody has questions on this topic? Bismillah. Go ahead.
So I've been going around in circles with this with some, I'll call them young intellectual Muslims.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that there's already, or maybe you mentioned you come to university and there's all of these ideas. I find it's not actually the university, it's the internet. And there's what I see to be a growing culture of sort of young, intelligent, self-taught people who tend to be very liberal. And the attitude is pretty much, it's all good as long as nobody gets hurt, right? So it's kind of a secular humanism. And I talked with one of them who I think should have known better, and he said, well, I'm agnostic. I said, well, I thought you were Muslim. And he said, well, I'm not agnostic like you think. He says, agnostics believe you cannot prove the existence of God. But it seems to me the idea of faith means you have to believe. In other words, it cannot be proven. If you can prove it, then it's not faith, it's knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm personally intrigued by this idea, because if we have proof that this door is wood, and we have proof that it's cold outside, but if we didn't know, it would be faith. But the fact is we do know, because we walk outside.
Absolutely wrong what you said. 100% wrong.
Okay?
Whole deen is based on knowledge. The first word came in the Quran is اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Read in the name of your Lord. Everyone in Islam has to have a teacher. Include Prophet Muhammad, the one he been sent as a prophet for all mankind. He has a teacher called Jibreel alayhi salam. And Jibreel himself, he has a teacher. He gets the message from Allah direct. And everything, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He said in the Quran this. I'm not inventing it. وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. I created the jinn and the ins to worship, not as He needs our worship, because we need our worship. All the scholars who's expert in explanations of the Quran, they agreed that they said, and Imam al-Ghazali has a lot of talks about this verse, he said, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. It means إِلَّا لِيَعْلَمُونَ. To learn. Because you will never know your Lord until you learn about your Lord. Until you learn about your Lord. That's the reason we say, first, it makes sense here, then it will travel to your heart. Or anybody who call anything nonsense, it's called a belief. You ask the one who believe in a cow, do you believe in, oh, I believe in God. Another one, do you believe in God? Oh, I believe in God. Okay, let's talk here. What do you believe here? According to you, we have to have a knowledge before we start going left and right. I believe in God. What's your God? The cow. You know this. A lot. We're not here to put anybody's down, but I'm just, for the sake of the conversation. Another one, I believe in God. Where is your God? Oh, that tree. You know this, there is people in the face of this planet still in this mind. Other one, I believe in God. What it is? That sun. I believe in God. That star. You know this. How many thousands of religion exist? Not religion. How many thousands of nonsense belief existing? Many. That's the reason here. It's the knowledge. How you want me to believe that outside is cold? Do I have to believe in it blindly? And now I call it believe. But if it's based on knowledge, then I cannot call it believe? Absolutely, this is false statement. When you approve for me that outside is cold, and I take it in my mind, and I believe in it logically, now it will travel to my heart, and it will be fact. It will be fact. And now I call it a belief, because it's settled in my heart after a knowledge. After a knowledge. لا تصح العبادة إلا بعد معرفة المعبود. Worship, it will not be valid until you know who's you're worshipping. So it's based on knowledge. Everything based on knowledge. Everything, no matter what it is based on knowledge. Your prayer, how did you pray? You learned, right? So it's based on knowledge. You pray to whom? To the tree or to the star? To Allah. Why? Based on knowledge, right? Based on knowledge. Everything based on knowledge. And anybody neglect the knowledge, you know what he does? He neglects the mind and the heart, and he's going against every verse in the Quran. As a person who claims he's a Muslim, a person who doesn't believe, we talk with him in a different aspect now, by logic. But the verse of the Quran, he said, قُلُوبًا يَعْقِلُونَ بِهَا. Hearts they will understand with. إنها لا تعمل الأبصار ولكن تعمل قلوب التي في الصدور. The eyesight does not get blind, but the hearts, the one inside your chest, that's the one get blind. And here is the mind. You see things in it, you process it, then after you process it, then it makes sense for you, then it will travel to your heart, now you believe it. Now if I tell you, and even the belief is levels. Small, light belief, high belief, strong belief, certainty. Now if I tell you, do you believe there is a country existing called China? You never saw China. You gonna believe in it? No. But now if somebody, he told you and you know there is China. Do you believe there is a country that it's called China? Oh, I believe there is a country called China. I believe there is a country called China. Then what this country? How do you believe in it? Oh, I saw people from China. They told me they are from China. I saw programs in TV. They are from China. This programs, it tells me that there is a country called China. Now your belief start getting stronger. You meet with people. You saw in TV. But imagine now if you take a ticket and you go see China. Now become more certainty. All of that belief, it's based on what? You don't realize that you're increasing your knowledge and it's based on knowledge step by step. And every time you increase with knowledge, your belief gets deeper. And you increase with your knowledge, your certainty gets more. It's knowledge. And that's the reason many of the disbelievers, they became to Islam through knowledge. You ask them, why you become a Muslim? Oh, I studied such and such and such and such, and I learned, right? That's how they talk. They never said just, I came and it happened in one time. Nothing. This is the answer for this person, the one who brought this topic this way. Any other question? Yes.
I don't think there is disagreement between what he said and what you said. He actually put his finger on a problem, a practical problem with the youth.
I understand, yeah.
Being agnostic is a cop-out, is a good way to address something that we cannot put into experimental model to prove.
Mm-hmm.
However, you can always reach knowledge by induction and deduction, which is part of logic. Logic has rules that, due to our limitation as a human, our mind, even with the knowledge we can, acquire the whole our life, we will have to come down to the belief. We have to believe based on what you said, logic. There are
So there is some
induction,
logic. That's what I'm trying to say. There is knowledge
we can't
again.
show you God to believe in God, but there are signs. There are.
There is many science.
In yourself and in the universe.
MashaAllah.
To accept it, and there is
Acknowledge that, yes.
انظروا إلى أنفسكم ما في أنفسكم وبالآفاق لعلكم, so you can believe. So these things, the agnostic or something, it's a cop-out. It's like somebody who wants to rationalize for themselves that this religion is a lot of work, a lot of morality, a lot of.
Yeah, but that's different story.
It's the
We are
same
saying,
thing
are
as
you
going
believing
to
or not?
college.
That's the question. Now the second question after when you believe, I believe, okay. Now, mashallah, you believe, then you have to testify that there is no God but Allah. And you testify, I testify that there is no God but Allah. And I testify that Muhammad is his messenger because he brought this message and he revealed the Quran. And now the second step comes in. Now, as a person who believes, I should follow now some rules and regulation, or those rules and regulation, what it's prohibited to not do, what's permissible so I could do. That's second step. But still, if you even not do that, you're not becoming out of Islam. You're still a believer. There's many Muslims by name But they believe. They will tell you, yeah, I believe in Allah as well, and I believe in Muhammad, that he's been sent as a messenger, and I believe in the Quran, and I believe in the angels. But you know, I have a good heart. Make dua for me. Inshallah, I'll start practicing. You know, many Muslims like that. Those, they are believers. We're not talking about practicing or not practicing here. We're talking tonight about somebody who neglected that there is God exists. That's the reason here I said in the beginning, we have to agree on something logic. Yeah, like this room cannot be small and big at the same time. There is something called logical. So not every, these things, it cannot pop from nowhere and you're gonna tell me that's what it is and there is no one who created all these things. It means you're not using your mind neither in a logical way, neither in a reasonable way, neither in any way. Your mind, you're giving him a vacation. When you start thinking like that, you're not using your mind completely. Neither you're not using the science, the person who comes talk like that, he not even using the science, the one he's bragging about, like the science, and because the science, so we shouldn't believe. Because of the science, you should believe. Because everything in the science, it points that there is a creator. May Allah guide us. Any other questions? Yeah.
As a believer in God, you always come across atheists who try to argue with you that there is no God.
For the sake of the conversation, usually we do that.
They'll try to argue. And the best example they use is there's a lot of injustice going on in the world, a lot of killings going on, this, that. What is your God doing? They'll ask like that. As a firm believer in the hereafter, and in the verses of Quran which says that even the very tip of your finger I will recreate, I know the answer for that. But if I explain to them about the hereafter, they're not going to believe.
You don't forget the hereafter.
Yeah, even, what do I say to them?
You just say to them that you don't know even the right from wrong. And I could approve it for you. You know how? Because your mind itself is limited. Many times in our life, when we are young, we wish something to happen. Let's say you are in love with one girl. And you really in love, and you really day and night, you think about her, and you want to marry her, and you want to get married, and they refuse you, or she denied you, and she ended up somewhere else, and she married somebody else, and you felt sad, and you cursed, and why this not happening, or why this, and why that. And then after a few years, this girl, she is failing around left and right, here and there, and with this one, and that one, and that one, and that one. And then you said, wow, Alhamdulillah, thanks for Allah, I never been to that marriage. So you admit that you don't know. Because you thought that's the right thing at that time. And in reality, what you thought is wrong. Because it's approved after a few years that what you thought is right, it's wrong. And that's the reason in the Quran it says clearly, وَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ وَعَسَىٰ أَن تُحِبُّوا شَيْئًا وَهُوَ شَرٌّ لَكُمْ وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Sometimes you dislike something and it's good for you, like the example just I gave. And sometimes you like something and it's bad for you. And at the end, to tell you how much you are very limited and your knowledge is nothing, he said, وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. And Allah, the only one, He knows and you don't know. And again, another verse, what He said, وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. What you got from knowledge is a very little tiny drop, and from this drop you have all this science and all this technology and all these things. And the science itself is approving that. Look now, you carry a small little phone you carry. And this little phone, a small little phone you carry, and this little phone it tells you everything. It has everything. And it's very little, tiny. This knowledge is from whom? From Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who created your brain? The one who done that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the reason here, everywhere you look is going to lead you back to your Lord. That there is a creator. About what's going on in the earth and here and there, there is an answer and there is wisdom. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He wills something, and it happened, and the fact it happened, there is a wisdom behind it. And I remember one of my teachers when we studied a long time ago with those righteous scholars, he said, if you are sitting and somebody came and start swearing at you and shouting at you, what you should do? We are talking about spiritualism, deep class here. He said, you look at him and you think, and you say, Alhamdulillah. He's just shouting at me and swearing at me. What do you mean, Alhamdulillah? He said, the fact he came and he did that, then it's willed from Allah. That's the reason it happened. Or if He never will it, it will not happen. The fact it happened, there is a wisdom behind it. Sometimes you know the wisdom completely. Sometimes you know some of the wisdom. Sometimes you don't know the wisdom at that time, but the wisdom comes later. Like the example I just gave about the girl and the marriage, the earlier example. You know the wisdom later. What's the wisdom of coming and swearing at me? The wisdom is testing your patient. That's a wisdom. Another wisdom is probably while he's swearing at you, he's highlighting some stuff in your personality. Nobody is telling you that, and everybody's scared to tell you about this. And eventually it came on his tongue. And now you realize, oh, well, I have that. That's a wisdom. There is many wisdom. So what's going on around the earth? Allah, the only one, He knows. So if you want to look for wisdom, of course you're going to find some answer here and there. But the full wisdom, Allah, the one, He knows. Sometimes we know some of it, but the answer, there is a wisdom behind it. The fact we don't know it does not mean it's not existing. Long time ago, nobody believed in this atmosphere. You could be used many signals. It goes. If you talked like this 20 years ago, they will think you are crazy. Now look how many signals exist in this we breathe. One for the phones, one for computers, one for internet, one for satellite, one for God knows what. How many trillions of signals, and we don't see them. The fact we don't see them, we don't believe in them. They are existing even though we don't see them. Not everything unseen we don't believe in. And the science approves that. That's the reason here, everything it leads you back. If you want to think in a correct way, in a logic way, it's going to lead you back that there is a creator. He's in control of everything. He's the creator of everything. Now here is, it's difficult, I'm going to go practice or not, and that's the reason I'm not doing that. That's now a different story here. Now here you're denying something inside of you, you admit it's there, but you're not saying it because you don't want to practice of, this is the most ignorant things. Believe and come back to Islam. And when you come back to Islam and you come back to your Lord and you start saying, I testify that there is no God but Allah, and I testify that Muhammad is His messenger, and you believe in the Quran, you don't know what that could make for you. It could change your life. It will change you 180 degrees. It will purify your heart. It will purify your nafs. And now you become very close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you start seeing yourself practicing without realizing, because you feel the deen. You feel the deen after you knew about the deen. After you learned about the deen, now it become faith. And now after it become faith, it become taste. Like as the scholars explained it. Start here, travel to the heart, it bounce back to the tongue, and now you taste the sweet of the iman. The sweetness. Yes?
After I believe there is a God, how can I start to rationalize that God can have son or not? So if someone says God has a son, it is logical to him.
That's not logical at all. Then he's talking about a human. He's not talking about God. He's describing a human and he's calling it logical, and that's the example that he doesn't know that he doesn't know. And here again, we are not debating with our brothers, the Christian. We are not here to put anybody's down. This is now religion comparative, that's a different story. But he believes at least there's God. Now, like those people who believe there's God and it's a cow, there's God and it's a sun, there's God and it's a star, there's God and it's a human. God cannot have a beginning and cannot have an end, because God, He is the creator. The creator cannot be created. When you say a sun, then you're talking about a creation. The fact He has a beginning, then He is created. And if He is created, then He has a beginning. And the one who started Him at that beginning, that God. And the other one is false. This is logic. Now you're gonna twist, you're gonna drink the water, and you're gonna tell me this is not water. Now this is the end of the conversation, like what we said at the beginning. When you say, I know, and in reality you don't know that you don't know. And now you're contradicting with logic, and you're failing under the third category of what we are saying. Because if you're gonna stick with logic, you're gonna stick with logic all the way through. Not just part and you snap to another part. And again, this is not here to debate with our brothers, the Christian, about their belief. We are here to talk about the existence of God, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we say this is fact. Anybody does not believe in that, it's like he is not believing in the most clear fact, as what we gave an example about the car, about the airplane, about all of that. May Allah guide us to understand our deen. Yes?
What does the Quran teach about God in terms of, for instance, I know the Bible pretty well, but what does the Quran teach about the makeup of God? In other words, in the Bible it says God is a spirit, so you can't define Him. You can't put Him in a box. He has no beginning, He has no end, like you were just saying. So does Islam teach that He is that way as well? Is He a spiritual being, or is He a physical being?
No, Islam, it teach about He is no beginning, no end, and does not resemble any of what you think in your mind. He is not physical. He does not have a beginning, does not have an end, and He is not a physical. He created the place and the time and the space, and He still exists as He is before He created all of that, because He does not need any of that. Who created the skies and the earth and the heaven and everything? Him. And He exists before that. And He still exists as He is before He created any of that. That's how Islam, we believe in it. As He mentioned in the Quran, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Nothing resembles
But
it.
He has attribute, 99 attributes.
99 name. He has attributes. The attributes and the name sometimes similar, sometimes different, but all they are similarity in no beginning, no end, and does not resemble any of His creation at all. Like when we say He has the attributes of knowledge, هو العالم, العليم, the attributes of knowledge. Doesn't mean knowledge like what you think, a notebook and you start memorizing. Knowledge is perfect, no beginning for that knowledge, and no end for that knowledge. And that knowledge does not increase and does not decrease. That knowledge to know things with it, not to force things through it. Like in another way, He knew before He created the creation that I'm going to be here, and you're going to be here, and I'm going to be talking about the subjects. That's the reason it happened. Not it happened because His knowledge is forced. No. It happened because He knew, and it happened exactly as He knew it, because His knowledge is perfect without forcing. So He willed it exactly as He knew it, and He presented it, and He's creating it with His power. That's the reason it happened as He willed it, exactly as He knew it, and it's being presented exactly at the time He knew it is going to be. That's all. And this example as knowledge, it goes with the rest of the attributes. With the rest of the attributes. That's how we believe as Muslims. May Allah guide us to have always the correct belief, and purify our hearts to be close to Allah, and to believe that there is no God but Allah, and to believe that there is His Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. God bless all of you. May Allah reward you, and may Allah guide all of us always to be good Muslims, to be good for our parents, good for our community, good for our university, good for our society, good for our country, good for the whole world. Islam is a religion based on love, based on mercy, based on care. That's Islam. That's Islam. Islam, when you say Islam, the roots of it is salam. Salam, peace. That's what it is. And you will never have a peace with anybody when you have hate. So your heart is full of love. That's the reason you have peace and you have salam. And when that heart full of love, then you will have mercy toward everybody. And when you have mercy toward everybody, then you care about everybody and you help everybody without having conditions for helping, without having any description for that helping. That help, it will be based, period, help. Doesn't have to do with race, doesn't have to do with color, doesn't have to do with language, doesn't have to do with culture, because it's based on love and mercy and care. May Allah make us all good and good to provide for our community all the good. Thank you very much. May Allah bless all of you. Jazakumullah khair.